I'd like to let you know, before we start this video for real, that I did shave my hair into the best representation of Kyouma's beard that I actually could get in real life. However, it looked completely terrible and disgraceful, and I will do a lot of things for entertainment, but that was a bit too much. So I've decided I'm going to make my editor CG a beard onto me instead.
Fuck you, past me, you're a dick!
So let's start things off with the bad. Dimension W is really just another subpar, let's take a whole anime and force it into 12 episodes situation. It's paced okay for the first couple episodes, or first few episodes, but then it really starts going full force into the devolution of unresolved plot lines, rushed character intros, and unexplained powers. This is all sadly usual stuff, and I can't blame anyone for it. If I were a mangaka and I were given the chance to make an anime, I'd snap at that chance, even if I knew there wouldn't be enough episodes. But really, let's not even bother going over this stuff. If I wanted to talk about this, I'd go back to shitting on Re Season 2. So, why are we talking about some somewhat obscure 4 out of 10 anime? Well, in the first few episodes, we actually get some good morsels of content from the main character, Kyouma. So sit down, buckle up, and get ready for some fucking overanalyzation in today's anime discussion. Dimension W sucks, but Kyouma is great. The silent, solitary, and somewhat dark character type is one that we don't often see in anime, and if we do, it usually gets relegated to a minor or side role. Hi, this is Editing Me here, recording this audio for the third time because I want to make it a very short distinction instead of an extra 5 minutes. But very quick distinction I wanted to add in here. I forgot to mention Scar for this character type, which he's probably the best, most well-known, and just generally best example of this character type that there is out there. And I wanted to bring up Kogami as a distinction from this type, where Kyouma is a very silent type, and Kogami is along the same vein. He's intelligent, he's very good at what he does, he's a bit of a colder type, but he speaks very much. And a lot of what we get of Kogami's personality is from talking to Makishima about philosophy, speaking to basically anyone about philosophy the way he feels. There's a lot of dialogue in what he says, and that's how we get a good feel for his character, whereas today we're discussing a character who gets his feel across without the dialogue. That's not to say Kogami's not a good character, he's a great character, but even though they're similar, this is an important distinction to make to get the point across in this video. The best examples I can think of this are probably Yomo from Tokyo Ghoul or Tien from Dragon Ball Z, but I haven't seen the latter in so long that I wouldn't trust my memory entirely on that one. And honestly, these are characters that are best suited for a side role. They usually come in at a desperate moment to hold the line, giving someone more important extra time or motivation, and their calm demeanor can be used to show the gravity of a situation. With limited dialogue and visible emotion, making that type of main character is a difficult task, but I actually found this to be the best part of the good episodes of Dimension W. To hold up that development, there needs to be more show and less tell. In the first episode, after realizing Mira took the corals he was hunting in a flashback, he has no callouts to the situation, no, she took them, and we simply see him quickly shift his car to the passing exit ramp. In his actions in the same episode alone, we see his relegation to not use coils with his classic car and modest abode. I mean, this is actually completely undercut by every other character on the planet calling out his hate for coils, but what we see through him alone is pretty good. His dialogue is very sparse, and when he does speak, it generally undercuts both hero and anti-hero vibes. He's clearly out for his own sake, but not some sort of honor or glory, but just doing what he can to stay a solitary existence. Most of his interactions are fairly brief with little input from his side, and when he does speak, it's about the job or the payment he's going to receive for the job, really creating the feeling that he doesn't want to be there and doesn't really care. It draws more personality out of a seeming lack of it almost. And honestly, let's be real, for the most part he's a dick. The first job we see him on, he disregards a seemingly hopeless girl trapped in a gang hideout, and when they end up being partners, he won't even let her stay in more than a corner of his house. When she does get her own spot, it's a rusty old trailer on his lawn. They do a great job of developing him as this loner out of place in a new world. He's just existing purposeless, grudgingly completing his work to keep existing how he does. This works quite well with his backstory being covered by a case of amnesia, because he's actually forgotten part of what his life used to be. And when he does see what his life used to be, it makes sense that he would live in the way he does. Jumping back for a second, Kyouma's personality also allows for some very comedic interactions that play off of Mira's personality. She's a very involved and curious person, robot, whatever. So naturally she's gonna have some simple questions for Kyouma like, where are you going, or are you leaving? Which of course received no response from him. It doesn't sound funny on paper, but something about his bored stare and lack of basic involvement in these situations hits comedy home for me. When confronted with the possibility of a conversation with his former teammate Albert, he does speak, but generally only to express how much he hates the situation. Once he does have to confront him, Kyouma jumps straight to fighting him out of a damn window. I mean, later when stuck in the same hotel room with Mira, he remarks, "I'll take the bed in the back, you can help yourself to the sofa." And for a subpar anime, that's actually some pretty well written and true to form comedy dialogue. I mean, when he does speak, it's short, simple notes to emphasize what we see without many words, and usually hits home with some comedy that can't go stale due to its sparing use. Anime has always been enamored with cuts to humorous situations, and this is a nice shift of that form, omitting the over-the-top dialogue before or after, and letting Kyoma's mostly realistic actions or choices carry the load. Usually I wouldn't think of a character's weapons as of that much importance to their personality, but I think Kyoma's skewers are actually a great choice for his development. They're much like he is, to the point and deadly. He throws them with impeccable accuracy, letting him end conflicts extremely punctually. Besides matching his personality, they're also quite unique, and I have to say it's really not something that I've seen before. Although you could argue it's fairly comparable to something like kunai, but I've never been into ninja stuff, so I can't really speak in that respect. But it further diversifies itself as a technique with the wires attached, allowing him to control a battle even more, wrapping up and entangling foes on a whim. This standout weapon choice is a way to bring more intrigue into his development without breaking the silent shell. Sure, it isn't directly tied to his character, but it invokes some wonder why a man of his personality would make such a choice. Often his type of character is relegated to a massive sword or hulking gun, and especially with his larger stature. This creates some welcome contrast, and although this could just come down to Yuji Iwahara, the author, simply liking the skewers as a badass choice, but he's right, and it works nonetheless. But we have to end with some bad on this one. Most of this does fall apart a little bit to or a little bit before the halfway point, when the series starts to feel extremely rushed. Kyouma turns from the silent, solitary type to being one of the leaders in dialogue every episode, and although this could seem like a shift of him back to his former self in a sense, it really does feel more like they just needed him to exposit and respond to being exposited on. He also grows to be fond of the Y, and although this did have backing in their first encounters, the surroundings were so scattered, and with the rapid pacing, I didn't feel for the situation as much as one from earlier. Everything felt like a side note, even the main plot a bit. I mean, with the main villain being introduced with maybe a few episodes left and him having no real development and trying to shove every character's connection in at the end, I just had no way of feeling for this minor subplot that received nowhere enough time. But there was a much better version of the situation in episode 3, where we take a bit of a detour into the robot who wants to be human or know what it is to be human territory. Mira's head comes off while saving some neighborhood kids, and we learn the children didn't care in that pure childlike innocence way, which subverted her fears that the basically corporation government would come and take her away. I mean, Kyoma's only lines upon finding her in this headless state are oddly soft, lacking the usual overly gruff tones in his voice. They're still sparing, and he leaves without addressing most of what she says. But he leaves to go start the process of getting her fixed up, and stops to listen to what she says, even if nothing else. It's a way of showing that he can care, but in his own way. It avoids going too deep into a side theme, and instead uses it to develop both leads further, keeping within their personalities. Mira is young and curious, so of course she wants to find some deeper meaning in what it means to be human. But Kyouma isn't a man who wants to take a deep dive into what it means to be human or how a man-made existence could become human or probably any philosophical debates. He's just a man living a simple existence with a complicated past. And this is a moment I keep looking back on as a defining character moment. Don't get me wrong, I love having philosophy just thrown in my face. That's why Psycho Pass is the perfect anime to me. But I think in this case, the avoidance of the issue was actually deeper than the actual take on it would have been. With no words at all, we get a deeper look into Kyouma's character. He's a realist. He's focused on getting his partner fixed, even if it looks like he doesn't care for her. And he probably knew he couldn't give her the words that she needed in that moment, so he didn't even try to. Honestly, it's a great show of his personality, and it's a moment that I really do love. At the end of the day, I won't act like I wasn't disappointed in Dimension W. I mean, the idea of a fourth dimension that they draw limitless energy from is very exciting to me as a science bitch in training, but it just didn't have the time to develop all of its plot lines, these scientific aspects, and it really does feel like it was one of the quintessential we didn't have time for everything animes. But I'd like to take a detour from my usual ramblings on anime at the end of the video to make this one a little more personal of an outro. It's been very sparing recently. My content hasn't been usual. It's been about a month since my last video. But I'm keeping this style, which I really do like, and I hope you guys do too. But I won't say that this year has been hard, but it's been complicated. From a lot of very personal family issues to minor surgery to trying to work a job I abhor that's physically demanding, so it makes me very tired, so I don't have the energy to come home and start doing this. It's also night, so I don't even come home. I have to start that, and that means I don't have any social life at all, which has been very draining. It's just been hard to get myself motivated to actually do this stuff, but I will say that reading some of the nice comments on some of my smaller videos specifically is honestly really what motivated me to keep making this video and finish it off, as I'd had the script written for quite a long while here. But throughout this summer, I thought I'd reached a point where I'd accepted the terms of normality, where I'd accepted you work a job you hate, you come home, you live for the little moments in between then, and that's just what life is. And this summer for me has been very adult in that respect. It's been very shallow in that respect, which to me is very much the same thing, where you're living for those few moments you get, and for me, even fewer working a job that's nights, where it's basically destroyed the social aspect of my life. So then in the moments where I did have days off, where I could have motivation for this, I spent it doing those things because I didn't get to do it any other time, and again, that's really what's drained from the channel so much. So I thought I finally accepted this take on my adaptation and personal little slice of the American dream, and then I decided, fuck that. As if you've watched my Psychopaths videos, you know I think there's two, maybe it's only one, I honestly can't remember, that's how long it's been. But if you've seen Psychopaths, you know the philosophy of that. I love that show for the philosophy, so I'm very deep into that stuff, where I really like the idea of Immanuel Kant's theory, where you treat people as you treat people as an end and never as a means to an end, which is basically saying don't use people, always treat them as if they have some inherent value, which is basically to say that humans have inherent value. And there's this aspect of specifically American culture where working such a shit job as I do, that seems to, just the way everything's developed and the way people who aren't involved in your department but who run the store treat you, there's this real, and just the way it rules your life in general, where you're not a person, you're a worker, you're supposed to, it really ignores those values that I've read into and really do like, where people have that value. So I decided, fuck that. I decided that I'm not gonna live that way, and it's probably gonna suck, and it might make me a little less happy along the way, but if I get there, it's gonna be everything I wanted, hopefully. So I'm gonna be here to stick around. I'm a fucking over-analytical, nerdy, weeby-ass fucking pan fuck, and I'm fine with that. And I hope you are too. And I hope you can find your own little slice of life that you want and be happy with that and do whatever you want to do. So anyway, I still ramble a lot in this ending, but it's stuff that I really did want to say and that I've been thinking a lot about recently. But anyway, thank you for watching. These videos, again, they do actually take a lot. It's the time to watch the anime, which as I'm watching it, I have, pages of notes I take until I single in on a topic, then, take another look at those, maybe another watches of some key episodes, get the points down, write the script, record it, get everything set up to record, edit it, which my editing style is very intensive as well. So these are very tough videos to produce. So if you, I hate saying this stuff, but if you want to leave a like or share it or show people, it would be greatly appreciated. And of course, I hate saying this stuff, but subscribing too. Feels like I'm pandering, but sometimes it's what you have to do. But if you want to do that stuff, that's fine with me. If you want to stick around, I'd love it. If not, that's fine with me too. It's your life. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But anyway, I will just say thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.